Hello, and welcome to the Mind and Muse Crafts Podcast. I am your host, Caroline, and if you are visiting for the first time, this is a podcast about the crafty side of my life, which mostly includes crochet, a little bit of knitting, some sewing, and some needle felting every once in a while. So, welcome to the 2023 episodes of this podcast. I've been around for a while, about maybe 5 years. And I know that at the end of 2023, I kind of said goodbye to you guys and mentioned that I might not be returning to this activity during the upcoming year. But the truth is that after much consideration, reflection, and introspection, I've decided to be here. I've decided to be here because I've reviewed my motivation for being here. My motivation is not monetary. I mean, it would have been a good thing probably at some point that, it is a good thing that people can make money off of what they like to do, such as crochet or knitting or yarn hoarding or whatever it is that they do. But ultimately, that was not my motivation. I was here from the very beginning, number one, just to share the crafty side of my life, which means to come here with projects that I have discovered, that I have found either for free or because I have purchased them or because I listen to different podcasts or where you are presented different materials and something catches my eye. So I can share with you a yarn, I can share with you a project, I can share with you a technique or something that I have learned. And that motivation still remains. I've understood that it doesn't matter whether there are 10 of you, 20 of you, 50 of you, or 7 of you returning every week. Well, every 2 weeks to listen to what I have to say. That's fine. This is just part of my life. This is not who I am totally. And whether you choose to come here every 2 weeks or not, whether you press the watch button for a while and then turn it off to go do other things, or whether you sit with me for the entirety of my conversation and share what I have to say, it doesn't matter. I am here for the same purpose, which is because I want to share what I do. If along the line there are other benefits that come out of that, that's fine. But the reason I do this is to share what I do. So that hasn't changed. And at this point in my life, as I have mentioned before, that I have retired from what was my profession, which was a mathematics professor, but I still have loads of yarn around me. I still have gifts that I am given that have to do with this side of my life. So I might as well make use of them. I might as well make use of them while I can and when I can and share it with whoever is willing to listen. Now, that said, I know that over the time that I have been here, I have changed the way that I share my skills or my crafts with you. I have focused on different elements. Initially, it might have been simply show and tell of the different projects that I was undertaking. Is that a word? I should say. Or maybe not. The different projects that I was making. And so I think I was not enthused by that idea. Very quickly, that stopped being the focus of what I wanted to do. I didn't just want to present what I was doing. So when I share what I do, if you're here especially for the first time, and if you have been here for a while, you will know, you will be shaking your head and saying, that is just so true. You will see a little bit of that lecturing. in my voice, the way I try to take advantage of a teaching moment. Oh, I learned this, and this is how I did it. This is how you could do it too. Tell me if you do it, what problems you have, so that I can help you. All that type of thing is going to seep through what I do. So if you're here in 2023 experimenting with new podcasts, let me just remind you, or let me just mention it, because it's not going to change. I have tried over these weeks that I have not been here with you to reflect upon what am I doing, why are there not more people interested in my content, why aren't more people sharing what I do with other people, why don't I have more likes? 80, 100 people can watch my podcast, but only 20 press the like button. Why? And so sometimes you look for answers in what other people who are successful do. And I have done that. And I have a list of things that I would like to incorporate into my podcast. Let's say a list of habits, good habits on behalf of the presenter, a list of strategies for inviting and for motivating you to return and to share, and a list of, let's say, do's and don'ts of what should be done on the screen if you want to attract, if you want to appeal, if you want to really offer your viewership what they have come to get. And so I will try. I am going to try as best I can to incorporate some of those things that I have been seeing, but I can't promise that much will change, because old dogs are hard to teach new tricks. Okay, so guys, the garment that I am wearing, you will have recognized from, I think it's one of the projects that I kind of like left hanging last year. I had worked on it for a while. My yarn ran out. I didn't like the yarn too much. I changed the yarn and I recompleted it. So that is the kind of wardrobe or garment hack that I was sharing with you at the end of last year, where I had a blouse that I liked the summery color of it. I also liked the fact that it had this lace at the top, but I didn't like the bottom because it was too tight on me. So I decided to cut the garment and redo the bottom half. Now, the pattern that I was using to redo the bottom half was the turn tunic dress, and that was by Haley Bailey. I'll share it with you. Got to be careful now because I've got a couple of lights on because it's a rainy day here. And then if I do this, you will see the light. And if I sit a certain way, I put my head a certain way. But anyway, let me make it larger. There it is. Okay, notice it's a dress. Because it's kind of like peplamy. It's the blouse on the top is wide enough at the bottom so that when you connect the bottom part, it is wide and flowy. It's not tight on the body. Okay. Then I decided I was going to add that stitch pattern. And you can only make this so big. So I can't really make it as big as I would like to make it. And there really aren't many photos included here. So I kind of like wanted to share a close-up on the stitch, but it's not going to happen. So let me just show you again what I did. If you remember, the bottom part, I was using Lion Brand's 24/7, is that what it's called? And I found it too tough. I ran out. Maybe it wasn't Lion Brand's. Maybe it was some other one. Probably Omega yarns, or it could have been Aunt Lydia's. Whatever it was a cotton yarn, 100% cotton, and although I kind of like the color combination. It wasn't this exact color, but it was tough. It didn't have a flow to it. It didn't have a nice drape to it. So I ripped all that back at the end of 2023 when I found a new yarn right here in my pocket. And I found this, well, it's not a new yarn, but I had used CoBoo for a project last year, and this is CoBoo, so it's cotton bamboo. It's from Lion's brand also, and it is number 3. So it's not worsted. We might call it a light worsted or a DK. And it is 51% cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. So, and the color is simply called yellow. And I found that color and I said, well, it's not going to look too bad. And it's also, because of the bamboo, much more softer than any 100% cotton yarn the one that I was using. So I ripped back and remade. Let me just show it to you if I can, because it's a bad position here. But if not, what I'll do is, as usual, I'll put up maybe a video or a photo. Let me see how this goes. I'm going to move to the side. Okay, not bad. You can see it. Notice that the yarn So you'll notice that the yarn was still attached because, once again, I have found another color of yarn that I think would go better, and so I didn't want to fasten off until I was sure which yarn I was going to use. This is mega soft. It's mega soft, and as hopefully you can see that it is not mega tight on me. It's not as flowy as the turn tunic dress, but it is flowy enough that I'm pretty sure I would use it. Now the crochet is very lacy, and so I would need to use a blouse under it, which is something I've talked about in the past as to something that turns me off from making crochet garments, is that where I live, which is, if I haven't mentioned so that anybody new can understand my position, I live on the island of Puerto Rico, which is in the Caribbean, so it's a tropical island, and most of the time it's really hot and muggy. There are times like now, during December, January, maybe early February, where we get the cool breeze coming in because of it's so cold in the north that it doesn't get that cold here, but where I live, for example, it can go down to the 60s, 65, 67, and the weather can be a lot nicer for wearing this type of garment. Anyway, what did I find? I found more than one, but I resisted the temptation to purchase both and see how it worked, which one I liked better. So I purchased this one. So if you'll notice, even the camera is reflecting that this is a pretty close combination. It is actually, because this yellow that is from Lion Brand is yellow but with a tinge of orange in it. Let me compare. See? Can you see? A tinge of orange, whereas this one, does it have a name? I don't see any. This is, I'm going to say Tina. This is Tina Yarns. This is from Madame Tricote Paris. It doesn't matter, believe me when I say it. And it's one of the yarns that my local craft store has brought for a while. It is 50% Egyptian cotton and 50% polyester. So it is still a more lightweight than the 100% cotton. Egyptian cotton is known to be softer. And so this doesn't feel as heavy as 100% cotton, but I know it is because this is a 100 gram, where is it? This is a 100 gram skein or ball, whatever it is, and it only has 186 yards. So that is still the weight of a worsted weight yarn and a very pretty thin yarn. And I can compare this to the one that I was using. Hold them both up sort of to the screen. You'll see there's not much of a difference. This one, and I'm pulling on, is the cotton polyester, and the one at the bottom is the cotton bamboo. From my point of view, you can see like a halo on the bamboo, but those are probably the actual bamboo fibers just sticking out, because you can also see a bit of fibers from the polyester sticking out on the other one. There's a shine in it, which is the polyester on this one, the top one. Okay, and so it'll be a little bit shiny. The Lion brand has 232 yards. 232. So this one only has 180 something. 86. So I can feel it's heavier. Well, this one is already used. Somewhere I have one that's unused because I purchased. I also have this yarn in white. So here's a 100. And I can still feel that obviously that this one is heavier. Which is why with 100 grams you're going to have less yarn because you can feel that it's heavier. Even though they weigh the same thing. Does that make sense? It should make sense because a pound is a pound, but I don't know. Maybe denser is what I want to say. It feels denser. So, I'm thinking about ripping back what I have and redoing it in this color. Because I think it would match more. It's more yellow and less orange, which is a good thing for my complexion. Although this is very far from my face, that really wouldn't matter that much. But I could use the CoBoo for something else because I have 300 grams of it. And it is a yarn that is easy enough to find. Okay, so there you go. I'm sharing an idea. You tell me, do you think it is worth it to rip back and to make it with this yarn? And I'll say it wasn't difficult. The pattern repeat is a 6-row repeat, but you get the hang of it after a while. Another thing that I will say is that when I was using the first yarn, I didn't use as many stitches. The pattern requires a stitch. The pattern has a stitch pattern of 12 stitches. So whatever the number of stitches you have that goes around, it has to be a multiple of 12 in order for you to use that pattern correctly, without modifications, let's say. Okay, so the first time I used a much smaller multiple, 84, 96, 108. I used 108 stitches. And it wasn't tight, but it wasn't as loose as I wanted it. So when I redid with this yarn, I used 256 stitches. 256 stitches, and that's what I have right now. That was, well, that's the way it is. But if I do it a third time, I think I'm going to still go up, because I believe she uses 300 and something stitches on hers. And that's why you can see that her that's why you can see that her dress is a lot more flowy than what mine is. I was trying to see if she mentioned it. I know it mentions somewhere the amount of stitches that they have at the bottom back panel. She's got 80 at the front, 80 at the back is 160, and then when she begins the fern, when she begins the turn pattern, she does 2 in each one, so maybe 320. I think she has about 320 stitches. So I can get that many with the amount of original stitches that I have. I think I need to go 3 in each stitch, and I would get 320. And that would be flowy. It would have more flow. It would be heavier. 1, because the yarn is heavier. 2, there'll be more stitches, so it'll be more yarn. But I have the yarn. I'm not worried about running out this time. But I have to give it a think, and your reflections on that or your comments on that would be much, much appreciated. I know that most of us are anti-frog and we just never rip something back. But remember, I want to use it. I want to use it. And in order to use it, it needs to have a style that I like. I like flowy. You guys, if you've been here before, know that I like a peplum look. And should I make a dress instead of just leaving it as a blouse? She says it's a very good dress, for example, for wearing over a bathing suit. Should I do that? I live in the tropics. The beach is open all year round. I don't know. So those are things that you can help me out in the comments below if you can, and tell me how you feel about that. No negative energy, please. No negative energy. I am not afraid of frogging. Don't use not frogging as an excuse. Just let me know. Let me know. Okay, so I went on and on and on about that. I am sorry, but yes, it's a new year. And I want to rethink things that I was doing last year to see if I can do them better and more efficiently and in a way that really brings out what I like. What I like. I want to be me even when I'm crafting. So, yeah. Let me know what you think about that. Okay. So that was my walking the talk. This is something that I would like to use, but I could use it as a beach dress. Be fine with me, and I don't have one of those, so that would be kind of cool. I was also thinking about actually redoing the whole thing, just crocheting the whole thing. So then let's leave this as a blouse, and I'll crochet another one as a beach dress. Like, I could do that. So I got another color while I was at my local craft store, which I don't go too often. I only go when I have a doctor's appointment because my doctor is right next to there. And anyway, it doesn't matter. I picked up this color. And this. They don't give it a name, do they? They give it a number, but not a name. It's the same type of yarn, the Egyptian cotton and the polyester. But for me, I call it silver. I'm going to call it silver because it just looks like a silver. I like grays and silvers, and I don't wear black a lot. I really don't. But I do like I like neutrals, like grays and silver, some cream colors. I'm not a true white person either. I like the true white, but I don't find it looks too good on me, though it should because of my black hair. I don't know, I've got mixed feelings about a lot of colors, but I'm not very colorful, but I like this color. So could you see possibly a tunic dress? Possibly that dress in this color? Oh, well, one of the things that I'm considering for my upcoming projects would be that. Something to do with this yarn because I like it. Even though we're approaching spring and seasons of the year where people tend to be more colorful, I'm kind of like gray all year long. Hey, to the gray crowd. I blame my older daughter for that. Anyway, I also picked up this. It's also Omega. They bring a lot of Omega there. I don't know. Omega and that Madame Tricot. So this is Omega Nylon that I've shared with you before. It's number 2. Pick up a lot of that for my earrings. What do you think about earrings in that color? So it's got blue, and it's got yellow, it's got purple, and it's got red, and it's got green. I think those are all the colors. I don't know how long the color changes are, but I purchased it because I was wondering if a pair of my teardrop earrings would look good in this colorway. Maybe I should be doing that. I shared that with you guys? A while back I had my hearing tested. So I had a hearing test, and they found that I couldn't hear well. And I've never done this before. And it's like listening through a microphone. It really helps. Oh, wow. Maybe I should walk around like that. My husband would be very happy if I walked around like that. Anyway, okay. Move on. You'll know that at the end of last year, I finished the, the book cover for my daughter, which was an imitation, if you want, or inspired by the spell book from the movie Hocus Pocus. That was completed, that was gifted, and she purchased, I was just using it in a sketchbook, and she said that she purchased an agenda or a daily planner to use with it. So I've got 2 sketchbooks. Maybe I should make my own spell book. Anyway, I didn't. I also finished the mushroom bag for my daughter Clarissa Beth, and I finished it just at the Christmas Eve. I was still working on the flap that goes over it because I decided that I was going to just leave it like that, weave in the ends, but weave them in straight up and down. So not actually weaving them in, but straight so that she could pull them out and redo any part of the bag that she wanted to. And it was just missing a snap that would go on the flap so that it wouldn't open. And she has promised to put that snap on it. So I am going to remind her here in public. I want a public promise on her behalf that she will do that so that she can use that mushroom bag without fear of people sticking their hands in her bag. Okay, so what did I do after I came back? I came back from my Christmas vacation. Oh, over the Christmas, I was gifted Swift. It did not come with instructions, so I had no idea how to use it. For example, maybe you know something about Maybe you know something about Swifts. I have no idea what this is for. Thought there were two. I think each one of these corners here has one of those things. Does anybody, I don't know if this has a particular brand. My husband bought it off Amazon, so I don't know. But has anybody of you seen this? Maybe you bought it off Amazon and you've used it and you know what that's for. I used it to hold in the second end so that it would stop bothering me. But anyway, I did use it today. To wind up a ball of lace weight yarn. But I'll talk about that after I show you what projects I am working on. Current projects that I am working on include, I don't know. I'll share this one first. It doesn't matter. What happened? My husband purchased a trip to see the Aurora Borealis in Finland in September. And so I decided that I was going to crochet up a couple of sweaters. Honestly, I thought I could make my husband a sweater, but each time my attempts failed because I wasn't using enough stitches, to begin my project. And because I didn't look up a pattern for a male sweater because, that's what we do. I've done sweaters before, so I kind of thought, why can't I make one on my own? So I started with this yarn, the Highland Heathers from Stylecraft. Stylecraft is a brand from the UK, so I don't get this yarn anymore. I used to be able to buy from Wool Warehouse and $5 shipping to any place around the world. And, everything that has happened around the world, COVID and war and strikes and whatnot have affected shipping from the UK. So a lot of companies don't want to ship anymore. And if they do, it's very, very costly. So I purchased it in a cream colored and a blue color and a sort of like pinkish purple or purple. Pinkish purple. And I never made it. Like things that you grow out of love with. And so the yarn was just sitting there and I decided to make a sweater with it. It is DK weight. And I decided to make a sweater or a jumper, depending where you're from. Pullover, doesn't matter what you call it. The idea is I decided to do it on my own, so I did some mathematical calculations, and I had one false start, and on the second one, I kind of felt I was doing it right. Initially, I was using half double crochets on both attempts, but the initial one was the half double crochet, and I think it's called a wide half double crochet by some people because you put your hook not directly underneath the stitch, but in between the posts at the bottom. And I think I've used that stitch before for my last Nubis top, and I talked about it in a previous podcast. And I wanted to see how that worked up. And though I liked it, I went ultimately for the herringbone half double crochet. Herringbone half double crochet. So if you don't know how that is made, the professor side of me has a video to share that stitch with you. So let me share it with you and show it to you on a separate video for a second, and then I'll come back. Here, the herringbone half double crochet, we yarn over, put our hook through the next stitch, pull the first loop through the second loop on our stitch and complete the stitch by yarning over and going through the last 2 stitches on our hook. Again, yarn over, go through the next stitch, pull that first loop through the second loop, finally yarn over and complete the stitch with the last 2 loops. Now, this yarning over and going through the next stitch and then pulling that loop through the second loop on our hook is what makes this stitch incline to the left side. And because we are making one side shorter than the other by going through that first loop before completing the stitch. Now, taking a look at the fabric that this produces, we can see how the different rows, the side that is facing us will lean to the left, whereas when we turn it to complete the next row, we'll see that the row is sort of inclining to the opposite side. So this produces a dense fabric, but with a nice drape, and it is often used for garments in other crochet projects. So I decided on the half double crochet herringbone. You can do it with single crochet, and you also have a single crochet herringbone is what I mean, and there is a double crochet herringbone stitch, and I went with 72 stitches across, and I just went back and forth until I finished up one of these completely. I have 4 of these. Now, after I had finished that panel, that was going to be, well, it's not finished, but I finished the skein of yarn. So then one of the things also that I wanted to do this year was to look through those patterns that I have purchased and to make sure that I still like them. If not, I'm going to delete one of those patterns from my life and from my computer. And then while making this, organize my computer and so looking through my computer folder, I found in what month I would like to do that I purchased off at Sewrella.com. And at Sewrella.com, there was this pullover called the Kelly crew neck. And the Kelly crew neck looks like this. Now, one of the things I find about the patterns that you purchase is that the photo, especially the electronic patterns, the photos are not very high quality, so you really can't zoom in. I don't know if they do it on purpose so that you won't zoom in on a photo and make it without the pattern, for example, on Ravelry or something like that. But it's annoying to me because there are times where the photos that they include are don't really help a lot, and you would want to like zoom in to count the number of stitches or zoom in to have a better look of how the pieces are connecting, and a lot of times you can't do that. But so this is one of those patterns. I can't really make it that large because the photo goes fuzzy on my tablet. Anyway, here it is. That is the Kelly crew neck, and it's by Two of Wands, as you saw there. She is the designer. And I found that, and I said, oh, here's your sweater. Here's your crew neck. And I didn't remember that it was there. And I'm trying to make a sweater. This could help. But, okay, the yarn that she uses here is different. She uses one of Sewrella's yarns. I don't know if you know Sewrella or if you have followed her for a while. She has put on different hats over the years. She was a blogger at one point. She had several blogs. Then she picked up yarn making. And so she has her own line of yarn, and I believe she even dyes some of it. And so her site now has changed a bit, but she has yarns and patterns. So this is a pattern from her site. It's a paid-for pattern. And But I will say that it uses Sorella's Classic Sport yarn. So it uses 6 skeins of the sport yarn. Her sport yarn had 328 yards. This style craft, if I haven't mentioned it, has 297 yards. So this one, it has less. It's a DK, not a sport. And so it should be thicker than that yarn. Okay, which is okay that then they might need more stitches than I need to go around, because the number of stitches she uses is not the number of stitches that I use. And it was actually more, and I was like, oh, well, I have to break this down, break this up again, and start all over again. I decided not to, because of the fact that my yarn is thicker. And so, what else did I want to tell you? It has all the classic elements that I wanted in my crew neck, front, a back, that are sewn together, and the sleeves that are made separately and attached, or attached and then made. It doesn't matter, but they are also attached. And she has all the ribbons in all the places that I like them. It is sewn together. Okay, it was what I wanted. Fine. So let me compare notes, and let me see if I can use this pattern as guidelines for what I'm trying to do. And lo and behold, she uses the herringbone double crochet. And I'm using herringbone half double. Oh, so that's a difference, but it's not, is it going to be a big issue, was my question. And so my gauge was looser than her gauge. I was using the same 4mm hook, and so did she. So I figured, my piece, my fabric, is going to ultimately be bigger than her fabric. So I'm not going to start again with more stitches, and I'm going to use the half double crochet herringbone, because I already have a whole panel done in that. So this is what I decided to do. I decided to use the half double crochet herringbone for the back, and then when she goes bottom up also, once she reaches the top, she connects one side to the front and does the front part, breaks off her yarn, moves to the other side, connects, and does the front part. I mean, like the shoulder of the front. Then she meets and continues to work the whole front panel. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that too. So ultimately, basically what I'm saying is I'm going to follow that pattern in terms of the structure and the type of construction, but I'm going to do it with a half double crochet herringbone stitch, because I already had this panel done. So as you can see, or I'll show you, I don't have the whole panel done to the length that I wanted. So I got bored with it, and I decided that I was going to add the ribbing at the bottom, because the ribbing is split. They're not joined. Usually I like to join first and then do the ribbing, so you don't see the seam in the ribbing. I don't know, I just like it that way. But this one, I am doing the ribbing in advance because I got bored with the rest of it. So this is just a ribbon in single crochet, ribbing, single crochet in the back loop, and I've got 15 stitches, and I'm going back and forth. But what I found was that normally I'll do, I'll chain, single crochet in the back loop, only come down, and when I connect at the bottom, I do 2 slips, turn around, and go back up. But I found that it was not stretching enough. It was actually pulling my sweater in, and I didn't want my sweater to be pulled in. So then what I did was I changed to just doing it, going back and forth slipping only once and going back and forth. And then I found that has too many. That is too loose. And so then what I did was I started going twice the first time and once the second time. And I have found that that is working better. So although I've done all this, I'll be ripping back to redo because it is something that I don't think is going to improve with blocking. You see the way this has like this warping here, this curve? That's because it has too many stitches there. So I'm going to use this front and back I think it's every 2. No, it's every 1. And that looks better. But also notice that I'm using a different color for my hem. These are heathers, so if you look closely, you'll see that this blue is heathered with some cream in it. And if you look close, I said what I didn't want to say. It's heathered with some purple in it. Purpley pinks. And if you'll see, this one is heathered with purpley pinks, but also blue. And you can't see it on the screen because my camera is not maybe capturing all those colors as it should, but the heathering is there. This is not a pure cream. So I thought it would go very nicely with my blue because I know that I won't have enough of this based on the amount of yarn that this pattern uses, which was 6, although it was 6 where they had 328 yards and I only have 297, but I'm going to need more than 4. Probably going to need 5 of the blue and I only have 4, so I'm going to use the cream for all of my ribbings. The ribbing on the sleeve, the ribbing on the neck, the neckline ribbon, which it has also. And so I'm going to do things like that. And I think it's still something that I would wear. Although I typically prefer salad, I think I'll wear it. And so up to now, I finished that. I'm going to redo the hem, but I'll have the hem done today. And then I'll be able to go on to my second piece, which is the front, right? Which is the front. Just in case, I am going to steam this whole piece together to see if I can straighten that out and don't have to redo it, but I don't think I can. I think it's going to have to be redone. I think it'd be best if I redo it. And I am one of the few people that enjoys ribbing. Single crochet ribbing, I really do like it. My experience with slip stitch ribbing, I also like. Half double crochet is not difficult to do. The half double crochet in the back loop only. It's just that I didn't like how separated the ribs are. I like this one better. So yeah, I've got a whole panel done. I've figured out how to have enough yarn. And look how wide it is. It's very wide. It's very wide. So I know I have a sweater that I'll be able to finish. And I'm going to use that pattern that I have had in my stash for a while to complete it, even though, I'm not following the actual pattern, but not because this pattern is faulty in any way. It's just that I had already started something on my own, and I'm using this as the crutch to lean on, because I was fearful that mine wouldn't come out too well. Like, how long do I make the front piece? When do I stop? How high should I make these shoulders? Although my past experience with my Snoopy cardigan is that that's not too bad an issue to handle. I wanted to follow the advice of somebody who might know more than what I'm doing. Although I don't know. Well, I do know that she is a long-time designer, well-known designer, so she must know more than what I do about making a sweater. Hers is a bit shorter than what I wanted mine, which is another reason why I am not going to stop when she stopped hers. A good thing about it is that even though she was using a different yarn and all that, she gives her measure like stop after so many inches, and that way it's easy to do with whatever yarn you're using because you know how long to make your piece. So I don't know if you can see in some of these that hers is a bit croppier. See how short it is? I don't know if that gives you a good idea of how. Here, this one is better. See, it's shorter. I think I want mine a bit longer, so I'm going to go down a bit more. But I'm glad I found that, because now I know that my herringbone, the choice of my herringbone stitch is not something out of this world. I know it's going to work. And I also know that my numbers are not too bad, and that in the future I have a basic pattern that I can go back to for other yarns. And so if you ask me, that's a win-win. Okay, so a project that I have started, but I don't know if it's going to be a win-win. Why did I pick this up again? This is living in my forever favorite bag that Clarissa Beth made me. One of those, the big bags that I use very frequently for my projects, and the other one is living in my Snoopy bag that even matches me today. So, this is living in this bag, and this is also, let me see if I can get, I wanted to get some yarn from up there because I need it anyway. I'm running out. But I'm working up with Wool Ease, which is also from Lion Brands, Thick and Quick. It is super bulky. Charcoal color. I thought that somewhere it gives you that magical gauge number. But this one doesn't. But I can tell it's super bulky. I've had 10 skeins of this for a while because I bought it from somebody in Ravelry, and she was selling all 10 for a price that I think turned out to be less than $5 for each of these, including shipping. So I said, yeah, I'll purchase it from you. And it's in the charcoal color. And I'm not a fan of knitting. I do prefer crochet. But I decided, well, since I've never made a knit sweater before, I don't know how much yarn it's going to take me. So I am going to go by ear with this one also. And here I've got pretty much either the front or the back at the point where it should be, you should move on to the other panel. So, there it is. And this is being worked up on a 9mm hook, because a 9mm needle, because it was the biggest needle that I had. Although I think I could have gone with a 10. I had enough yarn. I wasn't worried about running out of yarn. Matter of fact, because it's knit, it's going to use less yarn. So anyway, that's what it is. There's nothing fancy about it. It is simply knitting on the front and purling on the back. Is that stockinette? I don't always get my terms in knitting correctly. I don't always get my terms in crochet correctly. I don't always get my terms correct on this channel, but anyway. So that's what it is. So again, I am going to be making, I was like, how are it going to be? In crochet, you crochet 2 rectangles, actually 4 rectangles, seam them together, and you got a sweater. Why can't I do that in knit? And if you are a knitter, please don't be insulted by that. Ignorance is bliss, as we all know. But yes, I do believe that I could get a knit sweater out of that. But because it was super bulky, I didn't want it to be too exceedingly thick. I wanted it thick, but not, I mean, I knew it was going to be thick, but I didn't want it crochet thick. If I crocheted with this, the fabric was going to be I was going to feel like an astronaut walking around in it. So I knit it. That's the reason why I knit it, because I wanted a thinner fabric. And I knit it. So I'm up to there. And now I'm like, what do I do now? What do I do now? But I've got several ideas. I could probably find a pattern for free, maybe, that just shows you how to go on from here. I could fasten off. Not fasten off. What do they call that? Whatever the term in knitting is for you cast on. Do you cast off? Well, I could do that and pick up with my crochet hook and use the same technique that I'm going to use for that crochet sweater. Connect it one side and connect on the other, connect it to front, and then go downward, back and forth. Pick up my knitting again and complete it. I'm tempted. Because you guys know from the past how much I like to use multi-crafts, so I'm tempted. But I'll get back to you on that. I'm going to be thinking about it, about what to do. Bind off is the term. Yeah, I know you were all shouting at me, but I'm hard of hearing, as I have said. Bind off. Something that's not too stretchy. Pick up my stitches with crochet. And then crochet the connection at the top, knit the front, join my sides together, and crochet the ribbing at the top. Is that a plan? It's just a thought. It's just a thought. I'll let you know how that goes, probably on the next episode. So, I've got a couple of other things that I want to share, but it's getting late. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want this to be too long. And so I'll just say that if you notice, I'm a little bit hoarse because my husband and I have been ill. And so we're just getting over it. And so it hasn't been easy starting out the new year, but it's been fun thinking about coming back to be with you guys and pondering if I'll have any viewers when I upload this. But anyway, I'm going to make a plan with you. So I'm going to continue to work on this. And today is the 16th. I hope this will be up today. I'm hoping for not a lot of editing. And then I hope to be back. I'm going to make a commitment, and I hope to be back on the 31st of this month, because January has 31 days. So it'll be 16 and 31, and then next month I'll have to go back to 14 and 28, and then in March maybe 15 and 30. So I'm going to do things like that. That's my plan, but yes, I will probably at some point be returning to Alabama. I have to see my grandson. I can't not see my grandson. Kids grow so fast. By the time I'll see him again, he'll be grown and not wanting to be with his grandma. So, yeah. Ultimately, I'll be back there at some point too, and so we'll see how this plan goes. But I do have a plan. And I sincerely hope that you will join me to see how the execution of this plan ends up, and to, support me in my return and my everyday crafting honor me with your presence and your comments, so that I know you're still out there. Anyway, thank you for being with me today, and thank you for being interested in what I'm talking about. And I also thank you for sharing your thoughts and your comments below so I can see what you've been up to during this new year. Until we meet again, thanks for joining me. Keep yourself safe, keep yourself healthy, and keep crafting. Bye for now.